Okay, so next we got 4.8, and this will be the last one. So when you're graphing these, when it's like this in this interval notation, the way that it works is these two you're going to graph with the circle method, and then this you'll graph with the parentheses. So these two are circle, this is parentheses. So when you're looking at number 1, since it's graphing x is greater than or equal to -2, what you're going to do is you want to have, your number line. And we'll do like -2, -1, and -3. And when we have those three numbers, what you want to think about is, okay, well, whichever way this is pointing is the way that I'm going to graph. So since it's pointing to the right, I'm going to graph to the right. And so since it's got this underline here, that means that I can put a closed circle on it. So I'm going to do a closed circle and then just graph off to the right. And so that would be that first one. For the next one, it's between 5 and 8. Between 5 and 8. So I'm going to start with just my number line. Still the circle method. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 5, 6, 7, and 8. And if you notice here, between 5 and B, there is no underline. So 5 is going to be an open circle. But between B and 8, there is an underline. So there's going to be a closed circle on 8. And then you just graph in between those two. So just right here, we're just going to graph in between. And then for number 3, you've got -infinity to -1 with a parenthesis, which means that we're going to leave it as a kind of open circle if it was in other notation. So we're going to do -3, -2, -1, and we'll do 0. And so the way that this one would work is we're going to put our parenthesis right on -1, the same way that it looks right there. So just like this, facing that way, kind of making a C shape this way. And then we'll just graph it toward -infinity. And so we would graph that one off to the left. So for number 4, to solve this one, what we need to do first is distribute. So I'm going to distribute out this 2. So I've got -5d plus 7 is less than 2d minus 6. So for right now, just think of it like an equation. So what I'm going to do is combine my like terms. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5d over. So I'd have 7 is less than 7d minus 6. And then I also need to go ahead and add 6 to the other side. So I'd get 13 is less than 7d. And what I can do, just so I like it better, is I can just flip this around and say 7d is greater than 13. Those are one and the same because they're like mirror images. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 7. So I'm going to say, by 7, not b. So I'd say d is greater than 13 over 7. And it wants your answer in interval notation. So we're looking at all the numbers that are bigger than 13 over 7. And so you would do your little squiggly bracket, and then d, and we would say d is greater than 13 over 7. Never mind, that's set notation. I lied, sorry, Aileen. We would say 13 over 7 to infinity, because we want all the numbers that are bigger than that. And since we don't have the underline here, that's why it's a parenthesis. Okay, for number 6, I'm going to go ahead and move 9 over to the other side before I start, or excuse me, for number 5, I got excited there. All right. For number 5, the first thing that I would do is just get rid of the fractions. And so I notice that 8 goes into 16 and 16 goes into 16. So I'm going to multiply everything in this equation by 16. And so when I do that, I get 14x plus 48 equals 11x, or excuse me, is less than or equal to 11x. So then what we're going to do is subtract 14x from both sides. We get 48 is less than or equal to -3x. And then we divide both sides by -3. Remember, when you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, when you have inequalities, it changes the way the inequality points. So this would be -16 is greater than or equal to x. Or contra-verse, or we can also say x is less than or equal to -16. Either way you want to say that would be fine. So if x has to be less than -16, so -17, -18, -19, so on and so forth, we're looking into the negative infinity. So this would be -infinity to negative 16, and then this time you can put a bracket. 1 second.